Good evening. My name is Monique Dennison, the Executive Director of the Richmond Hill Board of Trade. I would like to welcome you to the federal all-candidate event for the Richmond Hill South Riding. It is our hope that this evening's discussion will provide a forum for everyone to make informed decisions about their vote. Events like this are a valuable opportunity to learn more about the candidates and better understand the choices before us. Before we proceed, I would like to acknowledge that we are gathering on lands that have been home to First Nation peoples from time immemorial. We acknowledge that what we now call Richmond Hill is on the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations of the Williams Treaty. We also recognize that we are on part of the traditional territories of the Haudenosaunee and the Huron-Wendat. We would also like to acknowledge all First Nation, Inuit, and Métis people from across North America, also known as Turtle Island, who now reside in the city of Richmond Hill. We are committed to rebuilding constructive and cooperative relationships. Please be advised, by attending this event, you consent to being photographed and/or filmed. These images may be used for promotional purposes, including but not limited to social media websites and print materials. If you do not wish to be photographed or filmed, please inform the event organizer on site. Myself or our booth is at the end. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator for this evening, Rod Johnson, who now will introduce the panel and set down the ground rules for the evening. Rod Johnson is a past chair of the Board of Directors of the Richmond Hill Board of Trade. He is an associate at Johnson Financial Group, Inc., which provides wealth and benefit services. Please help me welcome our moderator for this evening, Rod Johnson.
Thank you, Monique. Welcome, everyone. This evening's event is organized by the following organizations: the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, Markham Richmond Hill Vaughan Chinese Business Association, Rotary Club of Richmond Hill, and the Richmond Hill Board of Trade. Each of these organizations have provided staff and volunteers to create the event, including a collection of questions from their respective members and communities, as well as providing our panelists for this evening, with whom I will introduce shortly. I would also like to thank the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board for their sponsorship support and the AVD Smart Solutions for providing the audiovisual for this evening. The purpose of this evening's event is to provide the public an opportunity to hear from each of the registered candidates from their respective federal political parties. Likewise, it's an opportunity for the candidates to speak directly to you as well. You can expect a respectful professional dialogue from all participants. However, I will note the opinions shared by the candidates reflect their opinion and not that of any sponsor or the event's organizers. Let me run over the format for tonight's all-candidate meeting. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to introduce themselves at the beginning of the event and a 2-minute closing address at the end of the evening. The bulk of the time will be a series of prepared questions from each of our panelists. The candidates will each have 1 minute to respond directly to each question. And we will rotate the order in which each candidate answers a question first to keep it fair. In addition, there will be an open mic section in the second half of the evening where attendees can ask questions. We will have a dedicated volunteer, Jason Coulterman. Maybe Jason, you can stand up just so everyone sees you. He's at the back corner, on the back entrance corner there. He'll have the mic later when we get to that point later in the evening around 8:30. Please raise your hand. When we get to that point, please raise your hand if you have a question. Jason will come by. We kindly ask that you keep your questions brief and in the form of a question rather than a statement so that all candidates have an opportunity, and Jason will be the only one holding the mic. For each question, candidates will receive a 15-second warning indicating by an orange card. David, maybe you can hold up the orange card so the candidates see it. So when you're speaking, just try to keep, I know you'll be looking at the audience to connect, but Do keep a part of your eye looking at David for that orange sign about the 15-second warning, followed by a red card indicating that their time is up. For the 2-minute introductions and closing statements, each candidate will receive a 30-second warning with a yellow card, a 15-second warning with the orange card, and a final red card indicating their time is up. Now that we understand the format for this evening, let me briefly introduce our panelists to my left who will be asking the questions relevant to their members. First, to my immediate left is Colin Mahavlich. She's a government relations specialist for the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. Beside Colin is Henry Chu, president of the Markham Richmond Hill Vaughan Chinese Business Association. To Henry's left is Dr. Kate Jiang, the community service director of the Rotary Club of Richmond Hill. And finally, to my far left is Errol DeRay. He's the current chair of the Richmond Hill Board of Trade. He's owner of VentureX in Richmond Hill. Our timekeeper this evening is, well, David Katz, who I've introduced earlier. David is the president and CEO of Sustainable Resources Management. He's also a member of the Richmond Hill Board of Trade Government Affairs Committee. Without further ado, we will move to our 2-minute candidate introductions. Our candidates drew lots this evening for their speaking order, and I'll ask that each candidate to briefly introduce themselves in a second. The order that we've chosen was random, and then each question thereafter, whoever started second would then be the first. Whoever started, so we just rotate one slot. I'll help with that, but eventually the candidates kind of figure it out on their own. So we will start, first question goes to Juni from the CFP.
All right. Thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Welcome to this All Candidates event. I thank you for giving me the honor to start off. So to introduce, the Canadian Future Party is a new party. We were just registered in August of 2024, and we are trying to bring to Canadian politics back to the center, a no-nonsense, in the middle, not left, not right, evidence-based, just bring it forward. So our main priorities are that we need to make Canada a modern democratic superpower. So for a long time since we were born, we were taught that Canada is a middling power that tries to negotiate the democracy and fairness throughout the world and slowly build on human rights and civil rights in the process. Over the course of the half century, we've actually committed to building some of the best ranks of democratic rights in the entire Western world. So we need to actually continue and defend every bit of that. The government has no place in the private lives of citizens, but in public life, we all, as citizens, must do more to uphold our democratic norms and speak truthfully and confront injustice. To that end, we must defend our continued freedom by increasing our defense from 2.25% of our GDP immediately, and then gradually move to 5% as we reach to 2030 in light of the sudden and quick changes to our situation in the world. And in order to fund the continuing degradation of the Western economy, we must push for every kind of means to sustain our benefits as well as our economy. So pushing for an east-west pipeline to allow for Canadian energy and as well as continuing to preserve our health care that we have right now is of utmost importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Juni Yeung from the Canadian Future Party. Next up, we have Wang, who's an independent.
Hello. Hi, good evening. Thank you everyone for coming for this event during your such tight schedule. Thank you so much. And also thank all the organizers for such great opportunity for constitute to meet the candidates. Okay, my name is Wang, though I go sometimes by Sarah, which is my English name. I have been living in this community for the 18 years with my 2 wonderful children. They are so wonderful. Every time when I think of them, my heart just feels joy and gratitude. I hold a master's degree in hotel management, and I am a member of the Road Watch Committee for 7 years. I've been a school council member for, I couldn't even remember how many years when my children attended the school, for the Bayview Secondary and the Bayview Elementary School. I'm also a lifetime member for the Professional Women Association of Canada and also Shanxi Association, which is my hometown organization. I'm a conservative person and was once a member of Conservative Party until I decided to run as independent. I believe in the value that have been cherished by generations of Canadians. I believe in the importance of the family, of the community, of the hard work. These values have helped us to build our country into this great nation that it was today, and it was and it is today. And they should be preserved and celebrated. I also believe that we can build on those values to make Canada a more inclusive country. Inclusivity doesn't mean one replaces other. We can respect our tradition and values while also embrace the new ideas and perspectives. I understand the world has changed rapidly, and we need to adapt to the new change. But the fundamental
Thank you.
things that established Canada
Thank you, Yan.
and
Time's
never
up.
change.
Time's up. Thank you,
Okay,
Yan.
thank you very much. And if you want to know about me, and go to my website,
Thank you, Yan.
sarahwang.org.
Everyone gets a chance to speak. Next up is Ebrahim Astaraki of the NDP.
Hello, good evening, everyone. This is Ebrahim Astaraki, your Richmond Hill South riding candidate for the elections coming up April 28th. I am a York University political science graduate with literature studies from back home in Iran. I moved to Canada back in 2012, and I've been an education consultant and a career planner for the past 10 years. I am a true believer in ethical politics, and I'm a steadfast advocate for welfare, well-being, and sustainable development of our homeland, Canada. We are being existentially threatened by Trump down in the US. And unfortunately, up here in Canada, you see the mess and chaos going on. Rome was not built overnight. Rome was not ruined overnight. This is the legacy of the past governments. New Democrats have hardly ever been into power, and they cannot be blamed for all the mess and chaos. And we're here to help out. We got you pharmacare, dental care, $10 a day child care, sick days, and anti-SCAP legislation, and safer workplaces. With only 25 members in the parliament, this is how an efficient caucus should be. Totally unlike conservatives and liberals with over 100 members in there. We're dedicated to regular, average, working Canadians, not the well-off, not the rich, not the billionaires. Let's fight for true Canadians. Let's go New Democrat, let's go Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Ebrahim. Next up is Alison Lamb from the Green Party.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here today. I'm Alison Lamb. I'm your Green Party candidate. This is my first time running, so I'm kind of nervous. It's also, therefore, my first time having been invited to an all-candidates debate. So thank you very much for inviting me. I'm always being asked, why are you running? You're not going to win. My friends, I have great friends. You're not going to win. Why are you running? I mean, I can read the polls, too. It's clearly a red-blue race in this riding. Now, having said that, maybe you really love your red and your blue. Your red candidate, maybe you feel has been wonderful to you these last few years, and you're out here to support him. Fantastic. I hope you continue to support him. Maybe you love your blue candidate and he really speaks to your values. That's fantastic too. It's great to see you supporting your blue candidate. But I suspect maybe there's perhaps a handful of you, maybe a little more, who are thinking you're obligated just because of the way things are going right now to strategically vote for red or blue. And you are probably the group that I'm speaking to, because look along this table here. We're trying to give you choices. If you're voting strategically, that's not participatory democracy. We are trying to bring you participatory democracy. In the Green Party of Canada, we do not whip our votes. We do not whip our candidates or our representatives, and that sounds really violent, but think about it this way. Take a look at my signs at the back, take a look at my rat cards. Doesn't follow a template. If you look at the red signs, if you look at the blue signs, they all look exactly the same, except the name is interchangeable. My party gives me the choice of what I'm going to do, and I am therefore bringing you the choice. So please consider that. In the Green Party of Canada, I am on the shadow cabinet as the critic of intergovernmental affairs, women and gender, and I am also the co-chair of the Women's Caucus and the co-chair of the International Secretariat. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you, Alison. Next up is Vincent Ho, the CPC.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors. Thank you all for being here tonight. I'm Vincent Ho, your common sense conservative candidate for our riding of Richmond Hill South. It's an honor to stand before you as a proud Canadian who believes deeply in our values of hard work, freedom, and responsibility. I'm here tonight because Richmond Hill deserves better. We are a community built on the dreams of hard work, the integrity of working families, and the strength of our shared common values. But under the liberal lost decade, those values we hold dear to our hearts have been neglected and our country's future put at great risk. Let's talk about crime. Violent crime is up. Repeat offenders are walking free under a broken bail system. Organized crime and gang activity are bleeding into communities like ours. And what has the Liberal government done? It's weakened our justice system with these real threats by introducing catch and release and removing mandatory prison time. Conservatives will restore order, enforce our laws, and make our streets safe again. We believe in jail, not bail. Cost of living is skyrocketing. Families in Richmond Hill are being squeezed by record-high grocery prices, climbing mortgage payments, and ever-increasing barrage of new taxes. The Liberals taxed your paycheck, your gas, and now your home heating. Their carbon tax was not about the environment. It punished hard-working Canadians and their families. They will only back down for political reasons, and it will be a matter of time before it is reintroduced. A Conservative government will scrap the carbon tax for good. Now on to my opponent. He's had nearly a decade to represent this community. And what has he done? Empty rhetoric and a shameful record that repeatedly sides with foreign regimes over the rights and values of Canadians. This is not a time for soft language or silent bystanders. Canadians deserve leaders who will stand firmly for human rights, democracy, and our national interests at home and abroad. This needs to happen now, and Conservatives will deliver. I'm fighting for you as a 32-year-old Canadian and lawyer. This country has given me everything, and that's why I'm asking for your support tonight. Thank you so much.
Next up. Next up is Joshua Sideris from the PPC.
Hey, thank you so much. Hello. Hey, I'm Joshua Sideris. I'm running for PPC, and look, I'm not a politician. This is my first time running. I'm actually trained as a computer engineer. Over the past 10 or 15 years, I've built medical software that saved lives, and now I build inspection tools that help prevent bridges from falling down. I'm running for office because I'm frustrated with what's happening in Ottawa. Now, I know what you're thinking. You got to vote for the Conservatives to keep the Liberals out, or I got to vote for the Liberals to keep the Conservatives out. Just for tonight, hear what I have to say. I'm trying to give you guys a choice. You might have some preconceived notion about the party. Just drop everything you think you know about it. Hear what I have to say. I think you'll find that the things that I have to offer here tonight are going to be quite reasonable. Look, the two-party system in Ottawa has been failing us. Year by year, our economy, freedom, and livelihoods are getting worse and worse. We have massive vested interest corporate cartels that are running our economy and running our government, and that has to end. The government is constantly telling us that everything's okay with cherry-picked stats like the GDP per capita is the highest in the G7. You know, it's a gamed metric. GDP goes up with inflation. That the employment rate is low, unemployment is low, or inflation because of the way they measure it. and or the most egregious of all, that the carbon tax put more money in your pockets. None of it was true, and none of it's right. The party, the Unit Party that's infected Ottawa is destroying our country. Vote for change. If you want to learn more about me and my platform, it's voteforjosh.ca. Thank you all.
Thank you, Joshua. I think I skipped Majid. Is that correct?
It's okay.
My apologies. You were actually next
It
in line.
gives me a bit more time to be
You
able
can
to
close.
get my voice back.
Majid Mahari from the Liberal Party.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Majid Jowhari, and I'm the federal Liberal candidate in Richmond Hill South. I've had the honor and the privilege of representing this beautiful riding for the last 9.5 years. And the records that so many of my panelists here refer to as shameful is about $300 million that we've made sure Richmond Hill and Richmond Hill organization receive their fair share. The report cards is over there so you can have a look at it. But the most important thing for us is that we have now lost a friend who used to be our neighbor. So, United States, under the leadership of President Trump, has decided that Canada now is going to be the 51st state. That is no longer accepted. He's after our natural resources, he's after our skilled labor, he's after our water, he's after our sovereignty. This is a pivotal election. This is an election about Canada and being a Canadian. With Mark Carney as our leader, we have the opportunity to be able to develop an economy that's integrated. One economy rather than 13 different economies. Being able to get all our natural resources developed cleanly and being able to get it transported across the east-west corridor to ensure that we can get it to international waters. This will allow us to be able to have the independence, the security, and the sovereignty that I. Thank you very much.
Why wasn't it done in the last 10 years then?
Okay. Thank you, Majid. We are now going to move on to a question period where the panelists will ask questions and each candidate will have a rotating opportunity to answer the questions. I will remind the candidates to keep the conversation professional. And the back and forth, you can save your rebuttals to your final 2 minutes. Starting with our first question from Colin, representative of the Toronto Real Estate Board, and then you'll just, the panelists, you can just handle each question for their forward.
Thank you, Rod. First up, under a somewhat more uncertain economic environment today, what taxation policies do you propose or support to alleviate the financial burden on small businesses? And how will these changes help foster growth, job creation in our local communities?
First to answer is Wang, independent, and then Ebrahim.
Okay, thanks for the question. But honestly, I don't have any experience about small business. But I can from the personal wise, our tax system definitely has lots of flaws. For example, a person have the incomes just barely meet his all expenses. But by the end of the years, according to the current structure, this person have to borrow or steal from somewhere for another 10,000 extra monies, either to buy RSP to avoid to pay the tax, or he has to pay that amount of tax. I'm just wondering where he's going to get that money. So I'm sure this problem will exist in all levels of our tax system. Definitely have lots of flaws. And that's what I'm running for, to find a problem, to fix the problem.
Thank you, Yan. Ebrahim.
Tax breaks shouldn't be given to well-off billionaires and the rich. Tax breaks should be given to middle-class, average, regular Canadians, small businesses, local businesses. Don't put much of a burden over the shoulder of a true Canadian who's sweating to make a nickel and dime. Make billionaires pay their fair share for the economy. They're just filling up their pockets and they have no care for the rest of the country. That's not fair.
Thank you, Ebrahim. Next up to answer is Alison.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Colin, for the question. So the Greens are in support of small businesses because small businesses are where we feel there's growth. That's where innovation comes from. So we definitely want to support them. The issue is big corporations know where the tax loopholes are, and they know how to use them. Small businesses don't. So that's how they end up suffering. So what I would advocate would be to close those loopholes so that big corporations can pay more and contribute to services that could help small businesses. And of course, because I am a Green, we would give incentives to small businesses like clean energy incentives. And also I would advocate right now for small businesses who wish to do trade globally, not with US, but more diversification of global trade partners. So there would be incentives for that as well for small businesses. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Next up is Vincent, followed by Majid, then Joshua. Vincent?
Thank you. It's quite ironic that we're sitting at the Richmond Hill Board of Trade with a lot of small business owners represented here in this room. The Liberals have called small business owners tax cheats time and time again and have taxed small business owners, increased taxes on small business owners on every single budget since they took office. A common sense conservative tax plan would reduce income taxes by 15% for the middle class. So that would save you about $1,800 for a couple. We will also scrap the carbon tax for good. The Liberals say they scrapped the carbon tax, but only the consumer portion. They haven't touched the industrial portion yet. Realize when you go to the grocery store, the price of groceries hasn't gone down. Lastly, we've seen $500 billion of investment leave Canada to the United States in the last 10 years. So we will introduce a tax-free for any capital gains that's reinvested in Canada. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vincent. Majid?
Thank you. So the first thing that the Liberal government did was reduce the small business taxes from 15% to 9%. That provided the much needed fund that they needed. And what also federal Liberal government did was made a lot of investment in small businesses through helping them digitize, especially during the COVID. And we benefited from both of those in the tune of about $41 million in Richmond Hill. What we also trying to do and have done is reduce the capital gain that had been increased to 75%, now back to the 50%, which is incentivize a lot of small business owners who've already taken risk to ensure that they also receive the reward. We are relaxing a lot of red tapes around the small businesses to be able to get the financing they needed to be able to survive and help them get the skill sets that they need. Stop.
Thank you, Majid. Joshua, followed by Juni.
Thank you. Yeah, everyone's going to tell you that they care about small businesses, but their actions speak the exact opposite. It's almost like our government is at war with small businesses. I ran a startup, and it was so hard to get off the ground and just to get secure funding. I was able to secure a small amount of funding, but nothing compared to what they have in the United States. And that's because our entire economy is backwards. Let me tell you something you never heard before. Businesses don't pay taxes. People pay taxes. Business taxes are paid for by employees in the form of lower wages, customers in the form of higher prices, and investors in the form of less returns. When you go after billionaires and corporations, what you're really going after is people. If you try to tax the rich, they'll leave the country. We don't have the best economy. The rich do have loopholes. That's a reality. The rich are the ones controlling the tax system and creating the laws. We have to stop this. It doesn't make any sense to tax productivity. Things like income tax, it makes no sense. Let's end this and abolish these taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Juni.
Thank you. So I hear a lot of things about tax cuts and so forth, but really, our calls for reform for our taxation system goes back over 60 years, and including recommendations from the Carter administration, but the government has failed to react. The Canadian Future Party wants to look at the source of the problem by actually instilling a royal commission to reform and simplify the tax system. So at a time when Canada is on the precipice of freedom and its own sovereignty, I believe that, or our party believes, that this is not the time to be talking about tax cuts or breaks, but rather how to utilize what we have received better so that we have a more responsible and more effective government. So with this Royal Commission, it should recommend its recommendations within 18 months with legislation to be introduced and implemented by the 3rd year. So we believe in continuing with progressive taxation to close off loopholes with multinationals and, okay, we'll codify now.
Thank you, Juni. Next question comes from Henry Chu from the Markham, Richmond Hill, Vaughan Chinese Business Association.
Hi, all candidates. I'm Henry from the Markham, Richmond Hill, and Vaughan Chinese Business Association. How are you today? As a businessman, so we really concerned about the trade war which we are having with the United States. I just want to know what's the plan do you and your party have to stimulate the local investment or the government infrastructure spending in the region, Richmond Hill? And how will you and your party protect Canadian and our local economy and workers from the impact from the terrorists? Okay, thank you very much.
First question is Ebrahim, followed by Alison.
When it comes to real estate, we need to be very careful about the foreign money coming into the real estate industry of Canada. The corrupted foreign money is messing up and stirring up with the Canadian real estate. And that's a matter of our foreign policies and foreign interference, which unfortunately in the past years or so, we have let it gone loose. We are under threats and attacks by Russia, by China, by India, by Pakistan, and by Iran. This is what Intelligence Canada is stating, not us. We have to be very careful. Corrupted, polluted money is being washed into Canadian economy, gets into real estate market, and makes buying a house for a Canadian youth harder and harder. We have to be very careful and stop foreign money into our real estate industry as soon as possible. This is an urgent matter.
Thank you, Ebrahim. Alison?
Thank you, Henry, for the question. It was about stimulating investment and protecting workers, right? Okay, so the green plan, which I agree with, is to remove interprovincial trade barriers because it's so easy. It's been so easy to just trade back and forth between US and Canada. But if we remove interprovincial trade barriers, we're trading amongst ourselves and making Canada strong. But as I mentioned, the incentive for the small businesses, I would also advocate diversifying global partners. I'm not sure if you know, but the Green Party is actually only one of over 100 around the world. There are 100 Green parties and Green movements all around the world, and we all collaborate together. So I would like to see more diversified collaboration around the world, and that we would try to retrain workers who have lost their jobs, and more incentives for entrepreneurs who would like to start their own businesses and develop new global partners as well. Yes, it will hurt in the beginning, I'm not gonna lie, but it wouldn't be the same as it has been. But we have grown complacent, and changes won't magically happen overnight. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Alison. Vincent, followed by Majid.
Thank you. The Liberals had 10 years to tear down interprovincial trade barriers, and they've done nothing about it. And they're only talking about it now because everyone's thinking about it. And they've done nothing on this front. You know, we wouldn't be in this situation with Trump and the tariffs if we had pipelines. Our oil and gas and energy is our biggest export in Canada, and it's going one direction to the United States. Our party has always supported building more pipelines to get our energy to markets, to our allies, building a pipeline to the east and a pipeline to the west. But Mark Carney and Trudeau has always been against building pipelines. even before Mark Carney became Prime Minister. So if we had the pipelines built now, we wouldn't have the situation where all of our energy, 99% of our energy products, go one way southward to the United States. Lastly, we need to start permitting energy and resource projects now. Currently, it takes 19 years on average to permit a new mine, and this is not just some anecdote, this is the average. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. Majid?
Yeah, thank you. So really, this comes down to two elements. One element is trade diversification, and the other one is building a resilient economy. The trade diversification becomes when we move from 13 different economy that we are, which is vertically integrated with the U.S., to a one single economy that it goes east and west. The other one comes about the resilience that our economy has to do and has to sustain. And that comes as a result of making sure that the interprovincial barriers have been removed and we can trade with each other. That frees up about $200 billion before that was going south, is now going to go across Canada. And is going to ensure that we can not only sustain, but also put us in a strong position to be able to look at other international trade partners that we have free trade agreement with, that they're honoring it. Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. Joshua?
Thank you. Yeah, so you asked two questions, and I'll answer them both. The first answer is about stimulating local investment, and the answer is quite simple. We need to just stop capital flight and stop giving people a good excuse to get their money out of Canada. A billionaire having money in the bank is not a bad thing because that money is reinvested through our fractional reserve banking system. That's good for the economy. Let's stop getting people to move their money south. The second question was about tariffs, and nobody here will have an answer for it because they all support the government of Canada taxing people to import stuff that we don't even make here. Things like food and things like necessities of life and things that we don't even make here at all. We have to stop this. The United States has tariffs on us because Trump wants to refactor his tax system to replace the income tax with tariffs. That's bad economics for him, but we're doing the same thing. We want to tax our own people to import stuff from the States. It doesn't make any sense. Let's stop treating our economy like a US mining colony and start producing stuff here and consume what we produce here. That's all.
Thank you, Joshua. Juni, Yeung?
Thank you. So since this is a question that came from the Chinese Trade Association, I'm thinking about cultural products. I'm a cultural scholar before I went to politics. So one thing I must talk about is when you talk about cultural goods is that it's irreplaceable from a certain country of origin. That if you want to buy a musical instrument or some kind of food, it has to come from that country. That's not the case. At home, with the global economy at this level of development, we need to make sure that we have our interprovincial trade going on, as well as we need to recognize that we have local producers of cultural goods here in Canada as well as in others. We need to make sure that our trade goes to different countries on either sides of our coasts. However, we must diversify away from countries that are unstable or non-democratic for the sake of our defense and other trade deals. There are other alternatives. There are other solutions from other democratic allies.
Thank you, Juni. Last answer is from Wang.
Okay, thank you. I understand that the tariff actually has distracted us. We became so fixated from the trade battle, and that we lost the sight of our real hardship that we are facing every day. I just, almost every candidate said that we want to diversification, our trade partner. But unfortunately, under the Liberal 9 years, we don't have much choice. He damaged the relationship with most two power economy, and now is USA. So my strategy is we have still maintained a good relationship, try hard to maintain a good relationship with the USA, and also remove our inter-provincial barriers for the trading. We have to strong our economy ourselves before do the international, remove the international barrier or for the international trade barrier.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Next question from the panel comes from Dr. Katie Yang from the Rotary Club of Richmond Hill.
Good evening, candidates. This is Kate from the Rotary Club. My question is about immigration and diversity. So Canada has long prided itself on being a diverse and inclusive country. What's your plan, or what's your party's plan, to manage immigration in a way that fosters economic growth, supports integration, and ensures that newcomers feel welcomed, valued, and are integrated into the community to contribute effectively? How will you balance this with the needs of the Canadian job market? Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. First to answer is Alison, followed by Vincent, then Majid.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kate. That's a great question. I think I've already made it clear that as a Green, I mentioned that we have global Green partners all around the world, and we all collaborate very well. One of the these global Greens, we are joined together by a charter with 6 key principles. One of them is respect for diversity. So I am always one that loves to welcome newcomers. I also immigrated here. I came here as a child. My parents had the foresight of thinking that I had a better future here in Canada. And if Canada hadn't been so welcoming for me, I wouldn't be able to be here today speaking to all of you. So I would love to see better programs to support newcomers, job incentives, entrepreneurship if they wanted to start their own businesses, language training, and also to the point of integration. I don't quite like the word integration per se, but maybe like some sort of training or adaptation courses so that they can understand Canadian culture better and fit well within our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. Vincent?
The Liberals have broken Canada's immigration system. Canada's immigration system used to be one that was revered by many countries around the world. It was never a controversial topic in Canada. But after 10 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, they have broken our immigration system. They have lost control of our immigration system. We are letting in 1.2 million newcomers into Canada every year while only building 200,000 homes. Our party is not against immigration or against immigrants in any way. My parents are immigrants themselves. But we have to let in a sustainable number that is tied to housing, infrastructure, and healthcare growth. Because it's doing it at the level that's coming in right now, it's doing a disservice to everyone, both newcomers and Canadians that are here right now.
Thank you, Vincent. Majid?
I came to this country 48 years ago as an international student. So this is a country that welcomes people and helps them settle into this beautiful land. Our immigration policies needs to realign itself during these difficult times to ensure that we line up the need of our economy with who and the skills that we need to let in. That's number one. Number two, what we need to do, we need to make sure that we have the wraparound services to be able to help them settle as soon as possible into their new home and the work and the skills that they have so they can increase the productivity that we lack. So programs such as credential across Canada, getting their credential much faster, will definitely help. So strategic programs to bring skilled labor and also help them to settle to ensure that they can engage as soon as possible is the critical elements of a successful immigration program.
Thank you, Majid. Joshua?
Thank you. I mean, everybody supports immigration, even me being a part of the PPC. The question is really about how much immigration. And I think that per the party's platform, we probably have too much. We went from having about 200,000 a year to over 1 million. Why not 2 million? Why not 3 million? The mainstream narrative is that this is a race issue. Really, it's a math issue. We have 8% growth in our housing since 10 years ago, but 20% growth in our population. There's a mathematical fact that eventually we're going to run into shortages. And it's not just housing. It's healthcare. It's Our roads are going to get clogged. We have to be realistic about it. This is a taboo thing, and I know it's a sensitive thing to talk about. People don't like to hear the answer, but we probably overshot. I think the Liberals are trying to replace some of their disenfranchised voters since it takes 3 years to get voting privileges. And I think that's wrong. I think that we could do better.
Next up, that was Joshua, so next up is Juni.
Right. So I think we're all in agreement in this room that immigrants are never the cause or the root of the problem, but rather symptomatic of the complacency and incapability of the Canadian government to adapt to such changes. The reason why we have more than 2 million temporary workers coming in the past few years is because of the unusual situation with COVID. And now that the situation has passed, we will need to do something to adjust back to it. So the CFP proposes that we rebalance the temporary immigration by capping residents at 200,000 or pre-pandemic levels, as well as eliminate, in order to free up our IRCC employees, to eliminate asylum and deportation backlogs. That is the actual priority that we should be facing right now. Furthermore, we should make the tradesperson pilot program permanent and increase skilled trades to 30% of federally selected applicants, which, by the way, we have none right now.
Thank you, Juni. Yen?
Okay, thank you. We have nothing wrong with immigrant, but we are an immigrant country. Myself is an immigrant. But the problem is our government, the Liberal government, have no plan when they welcome the 10 million people without a plan how to accommodate them. That's a big issue. So I hope the next government have a long-term vision and a comprehensive plan for before they welcome any more new immigrants. Thank you.
Thank you, Yen. Last to answer this round is Ebrahim.
Canada is the target land of immigrants all over the world. Immigrants come for the Canadian dream, but unfortunately we let them down. Immigrant doctors, dentists, professionals, technicians, engineers, you see how long it takes them to get back on track and find their own career jobs and professions in the same field. You know about licensing, certification, registration processes. We all know that we all have to start all over again from the scratch. That's not how it should to be. And we need to review our immigration policies. I'm totally against open doors of liberals, and I'm totally against closed doors of conservatives. New Democrats believe in a balanced immigration policy. More scrutiny, more research in line with the job market. That's what we need, skilled workers.
Thank you, Ebrahim. And the next question comes from Elda Ray from the Richmond Hill Board of Trade.
Thanks, Rod. My first question is a pretty hot topic from the public safety infrastructure. And that question is, what is your party's position on reforming the bail system, and how will they get much tougher on repeat and violent offenders?
Thank you, Errol. The first answer is Vincent, followed by Majid, then John.
Oh boy, you ready for this answer? Majid Jowhari on the Ward 3 Town Hall in January said, car thefts are a reality of life. And I can't agree with that statement more. Car thefts have quadrupled in the last 10 years in the GTA, and break-ins have doubled. And the Liberals' soft on crime approach has unleashed a crime wave. We will put an end to the catch and release policy that the Liberals have brought in. We will bring back mandatory prison time for repeat auto thieves, while on the other hand, the Liberals have removed mandatory prison time on a number of different violent offenses. We'll also bring back consecutive sentences so criminals don't get a discount for committing more crime and doing less time. Lastly, we believe in jail, not bail. We will put an end to the catch and release, which has unleashed the crime wave that our country has never seen before. Thank you.
Majid?
Yeah, so I'll open up by disputing what Vincent is saying. If you go look at the clip, it clearly says that the car from my driveway was stolen, and the my neighbor house was broken into. And unfortunately, that is becoming a reality. The word that he's using is a typical of a conservative misrepresentation. Having said that, what our government position is to definitely toughen the repeat offender laws, and also I'm advocating very strongly for looking at, for minors who are participating in serious crime, to be considered as adults when they go to the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Majid. Joshua?
Well, if you wanted to make it harder for repeat offenders to get out and offend again, why haven't you done it? It's been 10 years of Liberals, and we have crime that's out of control. Look, the government has one of two responsibilities. Either they have to defend our life, liberty, and property, or they have to give us the self-defense rights to do that for ourselves. The current standing government is failing in both of these respects. It's ridiculous. We have to go hard on crime, and I mean, aside from that, I pretty much agree with Vincent on this. This is unacceptable, and it's not something that you would expect in a country like Canada. That's all.
Thank you, Joshua. Juni?
We must recognize that hard times make for criminals, and the reason why there's an increase of juvenile delinquency as well as criminality is because of the loss of prospects in their life to get a house, find a girlfriend, start a family. These things are being pulled out from under them, and those things need to be addressed. However, in the immediate run, they must also recognize the consequences of their own actions, and in this day and age where social media and the internet makes them mature faster, they should be receiving the consequences as adults earlier. Further on, the reason for the criminality comes from the increased amount of fentanyl as well as guns illegally passing through the US border down south. Therefore, the CFP suggests that we should actually address these problems harder while also relaxing the people who are wrongfully taking the blunt of this whole thing. For example, Canadian gun owners. Canadian gun owners are being basically treated as the problem at the source, and that needs to stop.
Yan? Yan?
The current bail system definitely needs reform, especially particularly when it comes to the violent, repeat violent and offenders. I support Pierre Poilievre's jail, not bail, and the 3 times out policy. Thank you.
Thank you, Yan. Ebrahim?
We need to look at the root, the root cause of the problem. Poverty gap. The valley of poverty is getting deeper and deeper. Militarizing and policing regime is not the right response to solve the issue. We have it down there in the US. Did it work? It's been practiced. Self-defense been practiced already. That's rule of jungle. We're civilized people. When conservatives talk of cutting, how are you gonna fund the correctional system and the police? When the liberals do the same cutting strategy under the pressure of conservatives, that's what you see. We need to hit the target, poverty.
Thank you, Ebrahim. Alison?
Thank you very much for the question, Errol. So, violent offenders, Greens believe that violent offenders, particularly violent repeat offenders, must face more serious consequences in setting bail, in sentencing, and in parole terms. However, Greens have always stressed the high social and financial costs of incarceration. So I personally believe in restorative justice. So for those who are incarcerated, I believe in programs for rehabilitation, mental health support and such. But those who post bail also need to be held accountable, particularly if the accused do not show up in court. So it's talking about this balance of public safety, security, as well as civil liberties. Thank you.
Thank you, Alison. David, the timekeeper, if I adjust the questions to 40 seconds, can you adapt the answers to 40 seconds? Can you adapt to that?
Okay, 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Then I'll give it 50.
Yeah. So just because we have 7 people up front here, if we shrink the answers to 40 seconds, we'll still get a quality answer off the top and fit a few more questions in. Next up is from Treb, Colin Mahavlich.
Thanks so much, Rob. Of course, at TREB, we care a lot about young home buyers, first-time buyers, and new Canadians attempting to own a home. The Canadian Centre for Economic Analysis has estimated up to 30 to 36% now of the end cost of a new home is made up of government fees and taxes at all 3 levels of government. What policies will you put forward to lower this burden on new builds in order to reduce the base built-in cost of a new home? And among these things can touch on municipal development charges as well.
Thank you, Colin. First up is Majid, followed by Joshua.
Thank you. That's actually something that's very close to my heart. So what the government has done is that they've introduced first-time home buyer saving account, something up to about $40,000. They're also cutting the GST on first-time home buyer, cutting the development charges for the municipalities. We've given Richmond Hill $31 million to be able to help streamline the permitting process. And also, we are investing about 500,000 new houses using prefabricated and containerized houses to be able to build them much faster and much cheaper.
Thank you, Majid. Joshua?
The government doesn't actually build any houses. They just crowd out private investment. If we want to make it cheaper for people to buy houses, we got to get rid of the tax completely. A tax on a transfer of property is immoral. It makes no sense. And I'm not just talking about for first-time home buyers. I'm talking about for all home buyers. The whole thing is completely insane. Let's scrap the whole tax and allow people to buy homes for cheap. And also, look, we have the same amount of land divided over more people. That's where the real bulk of your home prices are coming from. And it could get so much worse than it is right now if we continue down this path.
Thank you, Joshua. Juni?
Thank you. So I forgot to introduce myself. My background is a Hong Konger who teaches Hong Kong history at U of T in the past. So both Canada and Hong Kong experienced prosperity in the 50s after the Second World War all the way to the 70s because it had government housing programs. And starting from the late 80s to early 90s, both governments have shirked from that responsibility, allowing the free market to handle such things, and look at where it's gotten us in both places today. So the Canadian Future Party believes that the government must take leadership again in building housing again. We will reinstate the CMHC into building low-income housing and dedicate federal immigration pathways for skilled tradespeople and construction workers.
Thank you, Juni. Yan?
Okay, thank you. The house marketing is just like other commercial product. It's always a supply and demand. So when we have enough house, the price definitely will drop. So that's why our problem now is that we don't have enough house, especially for the first buyer. Even we have some house, like my neighborhood, is almost $1 million. I don't think the first buyers, especially young family, can afford. So the problem is we get enough house first. Thank you.
Thank you, Yan. Ebrahim?
I'm against bureaucracy and red tape and paperwork when it comes to municipal, city, town, rules and regulations about buildings. We need to boost our building system. Yes, I do agree with prefabricated materials, pre-made homes, but again, it comes back to dirty foreign money staring up at the Canadian real estate. We have to be very careful with that, and we need to decommodify a roof over every Canadian. We'd have to stop commercializing real estate and make sure that we respect people's rights to have a roof over their head.
Thank you, Ebrahim. Alison?
Thank you very much. 40 seconds is really not enough time to talk about a housing plan, so I invite anybody to come to me after this debate to ask me for more details, please. I'll try to hammer it out right now. The housing market is being treated a lot like the stock market. Companies are coming around and buying up these homes and basically driving up all the prices so that the regular individual cannot afford it anymore. 41%, almost 42% of the condos owned in Ontario are owned by investors. In Ontario, businesses own 75,000 condominium apartments specifically for investment. So I agree with the Green policy of putting an end to corporation-owned housing for investment. And I'm out of time, so please come to me and ask for more details.
Thank you, Alison. Vincent?
The Liberal Housing Accelerating Fund has failed. They change the name every year, but it's the same gist of it. We're living in a housing hell perpetuated by the Liberal policies. Mortgage payments have doubled, rents have doubled, and now it takes an average of 25 years for young people to save up just for the down payment to buy a home. Common sense conservatives will tie federal funding to municipal infrastructure based on the permitting of new homes. We will cut the GST on new homes up to $1.3 million, which will save $65,000 on a new home. We will also provide $1 of funding to offset development charges for each dollar of relief provided by municipalities up to $100,000. Thank you.
Next question is from Henry Chu from MRVBA-CA.
Hi, this question is based on my personal experience. I and my son were in the emergency for 6 hours. He has a fever, 100 degree. 100 degree up. And then, so I just want to ask. So the Canadian healthcare system has facing increasing pressure in the recent years. So what is your plan to address the wait time, improve the access to the essential service, and ensure that the mental health service are treated with the same level of the importance as the physical health service? Thank you.
First answer is Joshua.
The first thing that we have to do is address the reality that we have the same amount of healthcare divided over more people. The federal government blames the provinces for this, but healthcare has been increasing in funding and the number of doctors pretty much linearly for the past 10 years and has continued on the same trend since before then. There's no excuse. We have the same amount of healthcare divided over more people. We have obviously some licensing issues with bringing in doctors, but doctors don't grow on trees. A lot of doctors have parents who are doctors. You can't just immigration our way out of this problem. We have to admit that there's a problem and fix it.
Thank you, Joshua Sideris of the People's Party of Canada. Next up is Juni Yeung from the Canadian Future Party.
Josh, you mentioned that immigration isn't going to solve the medical problem, but that's what the immigration plan is trying to do. The ironic thing is that the Canadian system is bottlenecked by the amount of interns that are allowed to go through every year, and right now there aren't even enough spots for our university students to get through it, so where are doctors going to graduate? So the CFP needs to talk about expanding that physician licensing framework so that we can quickly recognize more people within our education networks, as well as foreign sources, and to expand and reform access to things like operating theaters. So if we can actually have our extra hours be privatized, that could be an idea.
Yan Wang, Independent.
Yes, that's very absurd. That we are facing the healthcare crisis. We are shortage of so many doctors, but unfortunately the doctors are driving taxi, clean the room, pick up the garbage. I used to have a house person to work for me, and he was a first-class heart surgeon in his city, but unfortunately his first-class hand have to pick garbage here in Canada. Thank you.
Next up is Ebrahim, Astaraki, NDP.
Liberals already froze funding to healthcare system. Conservatives have a plan to privatize it. They're going in an American way, and we have to be very careful. If you don't want your public healthcare system be gone away, keep your eye open and vote for the right party to keep it safe for you, unless you'll be regretting.
Alison Lamb, Green Party.
Thank you. So the Green Party has always supported strengthening public health care because we do feel that it works. It's the best way. Universal health care is basically the best way to go. So we would advocate providing stable long-term funding to provinces and territories, and we would train and hire more healthcare workers to improve the access and to cut down on wait times, because this question was about wait times. We would expand home care as well as community care and invest more in public health care instead of allowing for-profit corporations to deliver more services. Thank you.
Thank you. Vincent Ho, Conservative Party of Canada.
After 10 years of Carney Trudeau Liberals, we now have 6 million Canadians who don't have access to a family doctor. We have 19,000 foreign-trained doctors in our country who are not working as doctors. We have 34,000 foreign-trained nurses that are in our country not working as nurses. So we actually have a plan to address this. Common Sense Conservatives will introduce a Blue Seal program so that within 60 days of applying for the Blue Seal certificate, these foreign-trained professionals will receive a response to know what kind of requirements they need to be able to be certified in Canada. Thank you.
Majid Jowhari, Liberal Party.
Thank you. So the Liberal government over the last 10 years has made historical investment, and in budget 2023, the investment tuned to the $200 billion over 10 years. So the funding has been there. Well, what had not happened is that we haven't had enough doctors and enough nurses. And how that's going to happen is to make sure that the fund that we are transferring to the provincial government is now has a base for us to be able to measure it and transfer the fund once those metrics have been met. So once you hire more doctor, we'll give you more. Once you hire more nurses, we give you more. Once you streamline the process for credential, we'll give you more. And that's the only way we're going to deal with this.
Thank you, Majid. Next question comes from Dr. Katie Yeung from the Rotary Club of Richmond Hill.
This question is about support for the vulnerable sectors. So given the impact of economic challenges, what is your plan to support the small businesses in sectors that have been disproportionately affected, such as manufacturing, through tax relief or grants? Thank you.
First up is Juni.
Right. So we believe that the Canadian Future Party looks mostly onto the needs and priorities of our country and sovereignty and defense first. So in terms of small businesses, we encourage them to forge new ties with other democratic economies and countries first and foremost. We believe that diversification of sourcing our products from different countries from democratic sources will bolster not only the businesses, but also the security of our country.
Thank you. Yan?
For small business, as other company and also even the personal as well, we definitely need the government funding and also the grants. That's the only way to help them to survive, especially under the current situation. Thank you.
Ebrahim?
Small businesses are the backbone of our economy. We need to defend them against giants. They need incentives. They need tax breaks. And with the manufacturing, we need to build more Canadian and buy more Canadian. We have the resources. We have oil, we have gas, we have the lumber, the wood, we have steel and aluminum and other minerals and metals. We need to boost our factories and plants and expand our machinery.
Alison?
Thank you. I already spoke a little bit about small businesses and the incentives that I would advocate for. So I'm going to hone down a little bit because I've actually been approached by some small business owners, specifically Asian massage workers in Richmond Hill. And this is something that I didn't know about, so actually I'm trying to look into it and learn more about it. But Asian massage workers who have been working for over a decade in Richmond Hill are telling me that they're now required to shut down because they're not licensed RMTs. Not only is it their livelihood, but they also provide affordable care for their clients who can't afford RMTs. So rather than providing support for the underprivileged, they're actually being taken away right now. So this is an issue that I'm trying to look into, and this is real time that I'm trying to work on. Thank you.
Vincent?
Canada's common sense conservatives will fight for workers. We need more boots, not suits in this country. We will reinstate apprentice grants of up to $4,000. The previous Conservative government had created these grants, but the Carney-Trudeau Liberals had canceled it at the end of this month. We will fund training halls that will skill up to 350,000 young workers over 5 years by expanding the Union Training and Innovation Program, UTIP. We will create a special class of rapid EI payout for skilled tradespeople by allowing union training centers and colleges to pre-register apprentices for EI. Thank you so much. I can't answer the business because we've already talked about the small business already. Thank you.
Majid?
So, Liberal government is going to do three things. Number one is going to make sure that the businesses have the support and the employees have the support that they need through the EI program. Second, what they're saying in the industries that they're impacted, they need to have the support to be able to transition their employees. Therefore, there are up to $15,000 available to those individuals to be able to cross-train themselves into the new industry, as well as $8,000 per individual to be able to get into skill trade. Those will be able to help individuals to sustain during these difficult times and also transfer their skill set so we can help the economy grow.
Joshua?
I'm really tired of hearing about corporate handouts and what we're going to do for the big corporations. What I would do is, look, I'm against taxes, but I'm also against handouts, and it's really important. We have a tariff system that is taxing Canadians to import stuff here, and the reason we have it is under the guise of protecting workers. What it really protects is corporations from competition down south. What we need to do, like what we're doing, we don't produce a lot of stuff here. We have a lot of resources in the ground that we extract. We send them south of the border where they're produced into goods, and then sent back to Canada where we buy them. So we pay we're paying two tariffs. Let's end all tariffs. I know this will hurt the steel industry, but the steel industry is not the only manufacturer. We can produce everything that we consume in Canada if we had the right economy. Thank you.
The next question from the panel is Errol Duray from the Richmond Hill Board of Trade.
My next question falls under the housing umbrella. With 2025 showing a steep decline in housing starts, how can we ensure that Canada attracts enough investment to build enough homes in order to avoid a housing shortage, which would lead to a rush on inventory and, of course, higher prices in 3 to 4 years?
Wang, followed by Ebrahim.
For attract the outside investment, come to Canada, it's very complicated. First, you have to have a good environment for them to invest. But our high tax deterred all the investors, I guess, at least most of them. So we first have to, from the tax-wise, to adjust our tax structure and rates, try to attract more investors to come to build. And also, we have to find out the solution about the high cost of building a house. That's all. Thank you.
Ebrahim Astaraki, NDP.
New Democrats' approach to the housing problem comes in two ways. First of all, build more and ease the building system. no more bureaucracy, and ask the builders to pay their fair share into putting into infrastructure like schools and parks and amenities and facilities. And again, stop foreign dirty money interfering into our real estate, and also the subsidized the housing that worked in 70s and 80s during the recession. Help out the lower income average Canadian people with subsidized housing.
Alison Lamb, Green Party.
Thank you. So I'm glad I got the housing question again. Basically, the Green Party supports diverse housing options. People are different, they have different needs. Your seniors will have different needs from large families, will have different needs from young people looking for their first-time home buyers. So we want to provide, we would advocate for diverse housing options, and also support programs for first-time home buyers. There's been some proposal about using crown lands. That I'm concerned about using crown lands for development because a lot of these crown lands are indigenous lands. You can't just take them and develop condos, housing for people. So that is something that really concerns me. Thank you.
Vincent Ho, Conservative Party of Canada.
10 years ago, it used to cost 39% of the average median household income for housing, and now it takes up 60% of the median household income. Common sense conservatives will build more homes by requiring municipalities to permit more homes, up to 15%. If they're short on that target, we will withhold federal funding for municipal infrastructure. If they beat this target, we'll be rewarding municipalities with extra federal funding. Conservatives will provide more land by selling the 15% of the federal government's 37,000 buildings and require these buildings be turned into affordable housing. And lastly, we will require pre-approval for building permits for high-density housing around transit stations. Thank you.
Majid Jowhari, Liberal Party of Canada.
Yeah. So the demand for affordable housing has far exceeded the supply of affordable housing. So what do we have to do? We have to do three things. First of all, federal, provincial, and municipal governments have to free up the land that they have so we can reduce the costs and have access to the land. Second, we have to use advanced technologies such as prefabricated and containerized housing to be able to build these houses much faster than it traditionally. And third, we have to work very closely with municipalities to give the permitting that's needed in a very, very short order to be able to build those, as well as reducing the development charges.
Joshua Sideris, People's Party of Canada.
Yeah, so my position on this is that we should really deregulate development. I think that makes sense, and start developing more on more lands. But I don't think that's the federal government's responsibility, to be honest. It has nothing to do with the federal government. The one control that the federal government does have, and again I've said this multiple times, is immigration, and we have the same amount of land divided over more people, and that's a reality that we have to face. And so I think the PPC is the only one with a real solution to that.
Juni Yeung, Canadian Future Party.
So as I've previously mentioned, the prosperity of both Hong Kong in the past as well as Canada succeeded because of public housing programs. For the Canadian Future Party, housing or affordable housing is a national priority in which that we should take federal leadership in taking charge of rebuilding more housing, and we should reinstate the CMHC into building nonprofit, cooperative, and low-income housing. I'd like to spend a little more time to talk about the way how the houses are built. All the other parties have mentioned numbers on how they are built, but not about which style that they're developed in. In the 50s, we developed suburbs and the car culture because of the building project. Now, as we are facing an age of neo-urbanism and reconnecting the community, the government should take charge in redesigning these communities so that our people reconnect and start families.
Thank you all. Next question. I'll note this is the last question from the panel, then we move to questions from the floor. Back to Colin Mihaljevic from TREB.
Thank you, Rod. Very quickly, I'll just run through. Recently, the government canceled the capital gains inclusion rate increase from 1/2 to 2/3 on capital gains realized annually above $250,000. Would your government continue to support this policy?
First up is Ebrahim.
So sorry, can you repeat the question if you don't mind?
Capital gains.
Sorry about that. It's if you support keeping the recent canceled increase canceled for capital gains inclusion rate.
So millionaires and billionaires investing into stock market, they're only being taxed on 50% on their capital gain. And they're just sitting on their seat, playing with their computers and flipping stocks and making money. And the average regular Canadians are sweating for a nickel and dime. That's not fair. They need to get taxed on every single penny they make off of the stocks. That's New Democrats' answers to the capital gain in this country.
Alison?
Thank you for that question. So the Greens actually support the increase in the capital gains inclusion, because the point of that was supposed to be able to close up the difference between the more wealthy and the less privileged. But I would be in favor of exemptions of the capital gains increase, because it has to be clear what those exemptions are. Once again, it's about increasing some taxes so that we can decrease other taxes that are more important to everyone. So like decrease the income tax, such as that. The aim of the capital gains inclusion is to put more burden on the wealthy to create programs so that the more vulnerable can benefit. So that these exemptions that I'm talking about would be more available and accessible to everybody.
Vincent?
Let's not forget, it's the Liberals who introduced the increase in the capital gains inclusion rate. The Conservative Party is against the increase. Not only are we not increasing it, we are also giving a tax cut by bringing a Canada First reinvestment tax cut. So any person or business selling an asset will pay no capital gains tax when they reinvest the proceeds here in Canada. We've seen $500 billion of Canadian investment leave to the United States, creating jobs for Americans and bringing home powerful paychecks for Americans because of the high taxes that people and businesses have to pay here in Canada.
Majid?
The simple answer to your question is yes, we support it. The main reason for it is it's the impact that it has on small businesses and entrepreneurs who work so hard and take so much rest to be able to grow their business. What is happening now is that they don't have to pay the 3/4, rather than now they have to pay the 50%. Therefore, they will be rewarded for the risk that they've taken. Thank you.
Joshua?
I'm deeply concerned that investors, business owners, engineers, doctors, and even homeowners who have invested in the Canadian economy are being taxed at all. We shouldn't have any capital gains tax. It doesn't make any sense. If you have capitals that have increased in Canada, then you already have investment in the Canadian economy. If you're investing in stocks, that's not a subtraction from the economy. That is an investment in the economy, and to tax it is completely insane. It's just because it's easy money, because they have a big target on their back. The problem is this system stops working once you run out of money to steal. We have a massive problem with capital flight, not just with money, but human talent. And it doesn't have to be this way. We could have a rich country, but we have to abolish this tax.
Juni?
Thank you. So while the Canadian Future Party does not have specifics regarding the capital gains reform, we do realize that our principle is based on tax fairness and integrity to ensure that all individuals and businesses pay what they owe and close all the loopholes. In that spirit, we believe that in order that everyone nowadays more or less may have invest, or that they may be paid with stock options. So while we recognize that this is part of their rewards for their labor, and at the same time, they must also do their part in order to sustain the welfare and defense of our nation.
Yan?
Okay, capital gain tax is not like a carbon tax. It's like easily see. Carbon tax, definitely, you can just cut them. I definitely support them, yeah. It's not that much impact. But for the capital gain taxes, it's very complicated. If you always think increase the capital tax, you have to think that they may always target on the wealth people, but those people may move out of the country and move to south. So it's not easy to just add on them. I think it's just a balance. But how to balance that, that's what I'm going to find out. Thank you.
Thank you. We have time for one more answer from the panelists. I'll just ask the candidates to maybe try to keep it to closer to 30 seconds, but I won't bother David to adjust his timer. It comes from Henry Chu from the MRVBCA.
Hi, thank you. Let me ask a question about the economy. So considering the ongoing global economic challenge, many residents still face challenge related to their job security and the cost of living. What specific policy will you and your party implement to stimulate job creation, fair wages, and increased opportunity for workers in the region?
First up is Alison.
Wow, you want me to answer that in 30 seconds? I'm kind of amazed. So I will say that a lot of people believe that green is in the environmental party. You know, you think, well, right now, environment is a luxury. We're worried about our jobs. We're worried about putting the food on the table. But I would ask you to consider this for a second. I would say the Greens are the party of fiscal responsibility. But in what way? We are fiscally responsible for managing our natural resources. So it would be based on our natural resources, and please come ask me, because I'm really out of time again, but come ask me what I mean by that. Why fiscal responsibility and not just environmentalism? Thank you.
Vincent.
Canada is the only G7 country whose GDP per capita, after adjusting for inflation, has gone down. Every other country's seen their incomes go up and exceed the rate of inflation in the G7. To answer shortly, we need to get our critical minerals that are buried beneath our feet out to market. We need to build pipelines, we need to cut red tape, and we need to approve resource and mineral projects. Thank you.
Majid?
So we need to do two things. Number one, we need to make sure that we have a strong social safety net through targeted EI support for those who have lost their job, and also provide support through programs to be able to ensure that these who have lost their job as a result of the impact of a trade tariff can all get the training that's needed to be able to get into the new jobs, can get into the new skills.
Joshua?
What scares me the most in politics is not a problem that we perceive right now today. It's a trend that we see. And what we've seen over the past 10 and even longer years is a trend towards higher real unemployment and less investment in Canada. We need to reverse this urgently. We have to go back and we have to attract real money being invested in this country. We could be a rich country, or we could be a country like Brazil. And I think that I would prefer to keep us a rich country. That's it.
Juni?
There are so much opportunities in employment in terms of our defense and continued existence in both physical and hearts and minds. We need to bolster our defense economy, from building vehicles to munitions to setting up Munitions Canada, a crown corporation, in order to bolster our defense. We need to bolster the hearts and minds defense of our country by funding the CPC and starting a world service so that we are projecting our soft power outwards. And we need to, of course, also bolster our social security net and early childhood education net. So there's much to do. So there's a lot to say for employment.
Yan?
Okay, increase either the job opportunity or job security. It has first to strengthen our country. If we have a strong economy, then everyone will have benefit from them. Then we have more jobs. So our government have to have long-term plan and also the long-term vision for this country. Then we have the investment for the infrastructure and for the social society program. So all those things can guarantee, can benefit our people, so have more opportunity or have better life. Thank you.
Thank you to the panelists. We're now moving to questions from the floor, the open mic section. We will have dedicated volunteer. Jason, where are you, Jason? You got your mic?
Sorry, Rod, you forgot about me. I didn't get to answer this question.
My apologies, Ebrahim.
Yep. We Canadians used to take the lead in technology. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telegraph. Rogers, telecommunication. And Stephen Harper, the forefather of the Conservatives, let the Nortel go and didn't save it up. It could have saved up hundreds of thousands of jobs. We're falling behind of that after so many years. We could be the forerunner in technology. We could be the first in AI, in machinery, in robotics, and cybersecurity. We need to rejuvenate a technological, modernized Canada.
And not sell it to the US.
Okay, Jason, you're going to move around the room and ask questions. The first one answering is Vincent. Jason?
Hi, so I'm a recent university graduate, so it's really nice to see a lot of young people on the stage. I just wanted to ask, what can you and what can your party do for young people like myself? Because it feels like things have gotten really hard in the last 5 years.
Sir, how many seconds do I have?
These are 1 minute.
The Canadian dream of being able to afford a home in a safe community where you can afford groceries, gas, heating is very much out of reach for young people. It's taking 25 years to save up for a down payment. And the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, after 10 years, has robbed young Canadians of that dream. So we need to build more homes. We need to create good jobs for young people. And we want to bring Canada back on track and bring back common sense policies. Thank you.
Majid?
So what we are trying to do, we are trying to give you the same opportunity that I had when I came to Canada some 50 years ago. And we want to make sure that there is an economy that's resilient and provides you the opportunity to be able to get a good paying job. We are trying to make sure you can afford a house that you could grow your family through all the measures that the government has announced over the last 21 days and what we've been doing over the last 10 years.
Joshua?
Yeah, first of all, I appreciate the question. It's a great question. Look, I feel your pain. It took forever for me to save up for my first house too. It's pretty crazy, and it's going to get a lot worse. All I can say is that the government trying to build houses is not a solution that works. That didn't work in fascist Italy, and it won't work in Canada. My party wants to build a free and rich Canada, so that our Canadians can, so that youth and no matter where you are in your career, can afford to live. Prices are out of control. They should be much cheaper, and there's no housing, and I can feel the hopelessness when I speak to people. It shouldn't be this way. We could do so much better, but we need the reforms in order to do it, and we need to tackle the challenging questions that are that nobody wants to answer.
Juni?
Thanks for asking the question, Jason. I went into politics because I'm still living with my parents' house right now. And I believe that we need chances for our youth in gainful employment in the kind of fields that we studied for. Never before has humanity seen as this many university graduates in the society before. And we have seen the benefits of innovation coming out from it, even in the liberal science studies. So we need to create jobs that are actually addressing to these fields that we have taught them, including like history and so on myself. So in that sense, we need to continue with the idea of, as a northern superpower, we need to take a stance against the stripping of sovereignty in the capital markets, and we need to address with the fact that it is multinational corporations that is sucking the wealth of the entire globe away to just select few, mostly residing in the US. So to that end, we need to first assure that these businesses stay in Canada and
Yeah,
that they
thank you.
work in a cycle.
Yan?
Okay, for the young people, first, we have to ensure that all of them to get good education. Education is the basic fundamental for our young people to pursue a good, better life. So our government should invest more to the university and college to have the programs, to have the project with the university, creating more chance, more job, more opportunity for the young people to do the research, for the innovation research. We don't see much happening, in our university and college for the young people. And also, government and company should work with the university and the college to provide more opportunity for the students so they can get more jobs after they graduate. Thank you.
Ebrahim?
American are putting pressure on us. And young Canadians want to see us unified and strong. They want to see hope, not despair. They want to see unity and integration and care, not division. They want to see their politicians as their role models stand up firm and strong against Trumpism and not copy him like a parrot and pretend to be standing up against him. Canadians want to be Canadian and keep Canada as it is.
Alison?
Thank you. So back to what I was saying about fiscal responsibility, I just want to tell you that the Green Party of Canada is the only party that currently has their platform completely and fully costed by the Parliamentary Budget Office. So these suggestions I'm making are not pie in the sky. So one of the things that on the Green Party platform is that we would like to make college and university free for students so they can learn without going into debt. We would propose a nationwide employment and education initiative for youth 18 to 25, and we would like to advocate boosting access to apprentice programs in key trades, supporting those with skills to train youth, and of course, because I'm the critic for women and gender, I would really support and advocate investing in STEM for girls. Thank you.
We're going to move, next question from the floor, Jason, and we'll go to 45 seconds here.
Oh, you got the mic? Yeah. Okay. Hi, my name is Amar. I do want to congratulate and thank you all. Amazing topics. A really good coverage of topics. But I think 40 seconds or a minute of answer, all I heard was aspirational answers. I didn't really get to hear exactly, maybe a few here and there. So I'm going to come down to the exact question that I'm asking, which is the most simplest one. On my cell phone, and you can check your own cell phone, my cellular network is at 1 bar or 2 bars. This is actually in this room. I live 100 meters from here. I face this problem every day. In this day and age where where we talk about necessity, I think this is also necessary. What are you committing to do about this?
Majid?
Well, what we could do for it is to make sure that we have the investment that's required to be able to support the organization to invest in building the network that's needed through fiber optics. As you can see in this neighborhood, there's a lot of backbone infrastructure is being built, and that is through some of the government incentive that's being provided to large organizations.
Sorry. Joshua.
Thank you. That's actually a great question, and I don't think anyone should have laughed at you because it's a real serious issue. One of the problems is actually the investment that our sitting government over many decades has given to Bell and Rogers to keep out the competition. That has to end, and we need to have real investment in Canada, and not government investment, because we all know corporations control the regulatory boards, and they use that to make themselves rich and prevent a free market. We need to have more competition coming realistically from the states, but we could do it grassroots as well. But that requires a lot of deregulation, and it requires the government to get out of the free market and just let free people do their thing, and we'll solve that problem.
Juni?
So I believe it was the liberals who declared that the access to internet is a basic human right. We definitely agree with that. To that end, the CFP would like to one-up this suggestion by suggesting not only do we plan on encouraging competition and deregulation of the market so that there would be more competition for a better price and product for the consumers, but we also need to ensure that on the part of the government, we need to ensure that these channels are free from foreign interference as well as security from other kinds of threats such as scams and phishes. So every day when you hear a spam phone call calling in, that's actually 20% of what we actually get as a country. 80% of those are blocked off by CSE, and we need to actually step up our work on that.
Yeung?
Okay, marketing monopolization is critical in this country. So we have to have a Oh, sorry.
Speak to the mic.
Ready. I mean, the marketing monopolization is critical in the country, so we have to have regulations to have the free market, more competitions. Then that will benefit our consumers. That's all. Thank you.
Ebrahim?
We'll live in the age of internet, 5G, fifth generation of the internet. And we're just overhauling and maintaining our system with fiber optics. Isn't that a joke? We are a G7 country. That's a shame. Compare us to South Korea and Japan. They're way in front of us, ahead of us. That's ridiculous. That's because of anti-technology, conservative, liberal parties in power for so long, because they're not pro-technology. We need a pro-technology government and party in place with progressive ideas on technology, because there's no investment in technology with these two parties in the past governments. I mentioned their legacy on that. Thank you.
Alison?
Thank you. Take a look at this. Look how I'm connected. This is just the way of life these days. And in many ways, during COVID, technology saved us. Technology kept us connected, and really it helped us build relationships in ways that we couldn't even imagine. It helped kids still continue to go to school. It kept us in communication with people all around the world. So for me, anyways, I feel that we must allocate resources to strengthen our infrastructure, to keep us connected, invest in advanced technologies, and also collaborate internationally to safeguard critical systems and personal data. The Green Party platform includes building stronger cyber defenses due to the issue with foreign interference and in order to protect Canada. Thank you.
Vincent?
We certainly need more competition in this country in all sectors and all industries, and the government needs to get out of the way and reduce red tape, taxes, and bureaucracy. But another thing that I'm hearing is from seniors who are scammed by these phone calls financially and losing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. Our party has a plan to stop this by requiring mandatory scam detection systems for banks and cell phone companies. We require real-time flagging and blocking of suspicious activity. We'll create a senior transaction shielding protocol, which is a mandatory 24-hour transaction delay for high-risk transactions on seniors' accounts or the accounts of anyone who's assisting with these transactions. And lastly, we'll impose a mandatory minimum 1-year jail sentence for fraud over $5,000 for fraud committed in this way. Thank you.
Next question from the floor.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Hadini. My question is, what will you do differently to make Canada friendly to investors and bring back jobs and investment into this country? Because we know businesses have been moved to the south. I've had investors trying to invest here, and they'll tell me, no, they'll rather go to the US. And some are already even telling me that if this election doesn't go well, they'll move their investment to the state because the Canadian economy is not friendly when it comes to investment. There's no competition. It needs to be more competitive. It has to be an open market economy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
First to answer is Joshua.
Yeah, very simple answer. We just need to stop putting a big target on investors' backs. It seems like there's this mentality that has permeated Canadian politics for far too long. That being wealthy is like a sin. I think that kind of needs to end. We need to cut taxes. An investment in Canada, whether you get a capital gains from it or not, isn't a subtraction from our economy. I'm really strongly against that. And even things like income taxes, we got to put people back to work, and everything that we have in our economy is upside down. We just tax the heck out of everyone, and it doesn't make much sense. So that's kind of my position.
Juni?
This is my Hong Konger and historian side kicking in again. Democracies and free business works because there is rule of law and predictability within our social constructs. That does not happen when suddenly there is a new authoritarian leader coming in and suddenly instilling through executive orders tariffs that make no sense, that could change in just one afternoon. On that end, the Canadian Future Party likes to reinforce that very idea, that to maintain our sovereignty and to maintain the stability of the democracy is the reason why businesses want to do business and stay in Canada. We need to hold those companies that do not do that, that throw our democracy, throw our open spaces for talk and discussion, accountable, and have our data stored back here in Canada.
Yan?
I think most important is for attract the investor to Canada. It's still, as I mentioned, it's a tax. The tax rate in Canada is so high. It deterred all the investors to the south. And also plus, we have so much regulations. So we have to remove all these barriers for the investor to invest. And also we have to create the better environment, the support programs for those investors. They feel welcomed. And also we have provided all the infrastructure for have a company here, build a company here. And another thing is we have to keep our talents, our graduates. We have to have those people, young people, to try to stay with us, not all move to the south. Thank you.
Ebrahim?
New Democrats look at Trump's trade war and tariffs as an opportunity. He actually reawakened us. He woken us up from a deep sleep. Now we know that we've been too reliant on them. We need to become self-sufficient, self-reliant. We need to localize and nationalize our economy. We have the resources, we have the right workforce, and we need to build up new blocks with new countries, new contracts, new treaties, make up new friendships all around the world. We are friends, we are neighbors, but they gave us a hard time, and we have to stand up firm and strong against them. We want to keep our sovereignty and nationality. Thank you.
Alison?
Thank you. I think you've already heard me mention numerous times about global greens and how green parties like to collaborate around the world. In fact, one thing I haven't mentioned is our green MPs are actually known for collaboration in Ottawa. We develop relationships with people so that we can work together. I do think that it's important to bring in investments because that idea of collaboration is so important, and diversify those investments, because bringing in investments also increases competition. There is nothing wrong with a healthy competition within our market, and part of that would strengthen the Canadian economy. Thank you.
Vincent?
We have to scrap the carbon tax. We talk about Trump's tariffs, but there is a self-imposed tariff by the Liberals on the Canadian industries. and that's a carbon tax. It's killing jobs, it's sending jobs overseas, and creating jobs in other countries. We also need lower capital gains taxes. So that means that we'll make reinvestment of the sale of a business tax-free if those proceeds are reinvested in Canada. That means any investment, whether it's domestic or international, will stay in Canada and create more jobs, and more of it stays in Canada when it's tax-free. No investor is going to invest in Canada when it takes multiple levels of approvals to get anything built or approved, and when it takes 19 years to get a mine approved. So we're going to introduce one set of approvals for to streamline the permitting process. Thank you.
Thank you. Majid?
For us to be able to attract foreign investment into Canada, we need to make sure that we have a sovereign and stable economy. That model has now disappeared with Trump. So what we are doing, we are making sure that we have one economy rather than 13 different economies. The other thing we are doing, we are making sure that big investment players such as Honda, who invested close to $50 billion on leading edge technologies such as EV, have the opportunity to be able to benefit from the skill sets that exist and the friendly government that we have in relationship to being able to create jobs here. So we have the skill set, we have the right environment, and we have the means to be able to work with these giant investors to come in and build the economy that we want.
Okay, we're now moving to our closing remarks, and I'm going to reverse the order from the way we started the evening. So Majid will start, followed by Joshua, then Vincent, then Alison, then Ebrahim, then Yang, then Juni. Majid?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you for everyone for coming, and my sincere apology for my lack of energy. I'm suffering from a very, very bad cold. But having said that, this election is fundamentally about Canada, Canada's sovereignty, and Canada's security. The Canada's sovereignty and security is the only thing that provides us that stable environment that we could help Canadian grow, the economy grow. So this is a very, very important election. And you need a leader in that election who knows how to manage crisis during a very, very tough time. That leader, in my opinion, is Mark Carney. He has managed the governor of Bank of England during the Brexit, during a very, very unstable time, and has managed to be able to make the economy in England strong. So in this election, put Canada, put Canadian, put sovereignty, put unity, put economy first, and vote for Mark Carney and vote for the Liberals. Thank you.
Thank you, Majid Jowhari from the Liberal Party of Canada, Joshua Sideris from the People's Party of Canada.
Hi there. I had fun tonight, and it was great to meet all the candidates, and it was amazing. So thanks for having me. First of all, I have a challenge for everyone in the room right now. Go to the website, the official website for the Liberal Party of Canada or the Conservative Party of Canada, and try to find their platform on their main website. You won't find it. I couldn't find it when I looked. They don't have a public platform because having a platform on your website opens the doors to criticism. These are the two-party system that we have right now is a plague on our democracy. We keep thinking of the elections as being like red versus blue. I want to invite everybody here to start thinking of it as more like mainstream parties versus non-mainstream parties. We have a lot of great candidates here who have some amazing positions on a bunch of different issues. I don't agree with everything that everyone said, but I certainly don't disagree. You guys are all awesome. Vote against the two-party system and vote for some sanity, and let's hold the two-party system accountable. If Canada continues on the path it's on, we're in for some dangerous, we're in for a dangerous future. This has to end. Both major parties support $20 billion in tariffs against Canadians. We pay those taxes, and it's not protecting jobs, it's protecting corporations. We've built our entire economy around protecting large corporations. It's scaring away small businesses and investment. And our politicians talk a lot about protecting the environment, but we even have tariffs on EVs and solar panels. So look, vote for truth, vote for rationality, vote for Josh.ca. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua Sideris of the People's Party of Canada. Next up, Vincent Ho from the Conservative Party of Canada.
Pierre Poilievre will fight for you and put Canada first. Mark Carney will not. He's got 3 passports. If running for prime minister doesn't work out, he's got 2 other countries to go to. When Trump announced the tariffs 3 weeks later, Mark Carney, the chair of Brookfield Asset Management, decided to made a decision to move the headquarters of Brookfield to the United States because it will save them taxes and for lower regulations and to dodge the risk of tariffs. He's not fighting for you, he's fighting for himself. You need to ask yourself a question over the last 10 years. Do you feel safer? Is life more affordable? Is housing a realistic goal? Because if you answer no to any of these questions, it's time for a change. I'm a corporate lawyer. I'm a partner at a law firm. I've been practicing law for about 8 years. But I'm giving up my career to run for office because I want to represent you. I want to be your voice in Ottawa, your common sense voice in Ottawa. Because Richmond Hill is my home, the place that I grew up in as early as when I was 6 years old, and the home that me and my wife are choosing to call home. Richmond Hill South is my home, it's your home, it's our home. Let's bring it home. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent Ho of the Conservative Party of Canada. Next up is Alison Lam from the Green Party.
I hope that everybody found the meeting informative and that you found a candidate who speaks to you and for you. Even if it's not me, I hope that you found a specific candidate that's speaking for you. This discussion isn't over. Really, it felt like speed talking more than anything else. I'm kind of sad nobody got an opportunity to ask me about climate change or fossil fuels because I am Green Party. But ask me those questions after. Please come talk to me some more when I'm not timed and I can actually speak to you and we can have a two-way dialogue. Now, remember, you are choosing someone who's going to be speaking for you. They want to be, whoever you pick is going to be your representative, not the party's representative. Okay? So who do you trust the most at this table to speak for you in the House? Think of it like a proxy vote. You can't go to Ottawa, so you're trusting whoever is going to Ottawa for you to vote in the way that you want them to vote. So, which person at this table is most likely to speak to you? Which person has been giving ideas that speak most to your values and your vision for Canada? Anyone at this table who said, my government would do this, my government would do that, please take that with a grain of salt. You're not electing a government, you're electing a representative. Even if your representative is part of a party that eventually forms government, this will very likely, well, no, it might be a minority government, but the promise is they can't keep for the entire government that they are forming. Nobody at this table can promise you anything except that they will keep you, and not just the voter because that's pandering for votes, but you, the resident of Richmond Hill, in mind, whether you vote for them or not. So think about who at this table best represents your ideas of how Canada should be, and please remember to vote either starting tomorrow over the long weekend in advance polling or on Monday, April 28th on Election Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison Lam from the Green Party. Next is Ebrahim Astaraki from the New Democratic Party.
Instead of my planned response for the closing, I'd rather connect it and address it to Mr. Jowhari's response. Looks like his concerns and worries and issues are about national safety and security. Unfortunately, my community of people, Iranians in Richmond Hill, have so much of concerns and issues. They're not happy with Mr. Jowhari's stance in the past 10 years against the regime of Iran. Unfortunately, the regime of Iran, as a hostile enemy, has been trying to interfere into our national affairs, interfere into our elections, do money laundering, and threatening dissidents, pundits, and protesters of Iranians up here in Canada. And unfortunately, Mr. Jowhari's been closing his eyes and closing his mouth over all the atrocities going down in Iran. All the jails, all the imprisonments, lashing, and killing people, torturing people, imprisoning them, and the dictatorship down there. We see no stance from him. He takes no stance against all the atrocities down there. And unfortunately, my community is really agitated, concerned, and worried about what's going on. Why our MP does not take any stance against them. This inactivity, this silence has a message. Are you taking the side of them? What's going on? If not, put yourself in the clear. People still remember the tweet that you put on when Armita Abbasi was in jail.
Thank you, Ebrahim.
You called their courts legal and...
Thank you. Time's up. That was Ebrahim Astaraki from the New Democratic. Next is Wang from an Independent.
An incompetent parent ruins a childhood. An incompetent CEO ruins bankrupt a company. An incompetent leader, prime minister, will bring the catastrophe to this country, to the entire nation. 9 years of Liberal government have demonstrated we don't need Liberal. We don't need Mark Carney. To those still holding out hopes for Mark Carney, I advise you to wake up from the dream. Unless you want Canada's decline to continue, under no circumstance, Mark Carney should be chosen. Some may argue that the Conservative is not perfect. I agree, because my independent candidates has proved that. But however, when you're facing a choice between worse and bad, we have to must choose the least damaging path. Pierre Poilievre, I agree with Stephen Harper. He has prepared for his role for the past over 20 years. His dedication, his experience, and deep understanding of our government are undeniable. He's able to learn from our mistake and make the better decision. Mark Carney, I don't care if he's not incompetent. Since he assumed his office, instead of working with the team to resolve the urgent issues of Canada, he brought a plan to England. I don't know what's the urgency there. And under his leadership, he declared our relationship with USA is over. What an incompetence. Our relationship with USA has never changed, and it should never change.
Thank you. Time's up.
Long-standing partner.
Time's up. Time's up, Yan.
If you want to vote.
Excuse me, Yan. Time's up.
If you want.
Excuse me, Yan. Time's up. Hey, guys. Everyone's been pretty good tonight, so let's be respectful, please. And last up is Juni Yeung from the Canadian Future Party.
The Canadian Future Party was founded last August in preparation of what should have been an October election. Instead, the election is now being held in April, and we have 20 or so candidates running across Canada, with Richmond Hill South being one of the fortunate ones to be the earliest to receive a candidate. The reason why I got into Canadian politics is because I watching what happened in Hong Kong in 2019, a free and democratic place, at least in function, descend into a police state overnight. And then suddenly that has happened overnight as well in the United States, has led to that sense of urgency that Canada could have followed suit. And there are not a lot of people in Canada who actually understand the urgency of the situation. So allow me to give you a story about why I went to the Canadian Future Party. Our leader, Dominic Carty, was an education minister in early 2020, and he was on vacation in Guatemala when he saw rumors of COVID expanding in Wuhan, China at the time. He saw that this was going to be a global situation, so he went back home immediately and issued iPads for every student in the province and got told off as a laughingstock back in February 2020. He was called COVID King for extraneous actions that would have been an expense that was unwarranted. But turns out he was the only person in all of Canada to have made a timely reaction to the global pandemic, at the same time when our own MP was lauding the transparency of the Chinese response. Well, that aged like milk. So in an age where safety and security of our country could flip overnight, I want to see that votes for the Future Party Canada is a symbol or as a message that we need urgent and immediate responses and awareness. And this should have been a lesson to the big two parties. Thank you.
That was Juni Yeung, the Canadian Future Party. So we're just closing up here, folks. 60 seconds and we'll be done. But just very, very briefly here, I'm very impressed with the quality of the people that are putting their names forward and working on our behalf to earn your trust. So just give them a round of applause for their great effort tonight. I made a little mistake and had us run a few minutes over. My apologies. There was one question from the floor that may have been queued up, and my apologies to them, specifically for me missing the time on that. Once again, special thank you to our sponsors, Toronto Regional Real Estate Board and AVD Smart Solutions for the audio-visual. Thank you to the Richmond Hill Board of Trade for organizing the event, along with the panelists from the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board, Markham, Richmond Hill Vaughan Chinese Business Association, and the Richmond Hill Rotary Club of Richmond Hill. A special thank you to the staff, the volunteers, and the candidates who worked together to make this event possible. We encourage you to get out and vote on Election Day, Monday, April 28th, for the advance polls, which open on Friday, April 18th, Saturday, April 19th, Sunday, April 20th, and Monday, the 21st. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight and participating in this important opportunity. Good night.